Mozambique has seen generally rapid growth in the last few decades. Today, I have a very specific video about what someone told me to create on. So let's get to the main point. You can see the title: 5 poorest countries in the world. But these are based on African countries. The 5. I have number 1 on my list: Democratic Republic of Congo. That's the capital is Kinshasa. That's Congo DRC. Its GDP per capita in the year 2025, that is the future, would be about $568 dollars. Let's get it. So the Democratic Republic of Congo is the largest country in the sub-Saharan Africa, which has a tumultuous ride, since achieving her independence from Belgium in 1960. With years of violent conflicts crippling economic development, notwithstanding vast mineral wealth. The economy is seen recovering to a fairly modest growth trajectory over the next few years, but the country's economic potential will be held back by weak infrastructures, tough business environment, and shaky power supply. All this I've said just means that after gaining independence, that's the DRC CONGO, after gaining independence by the Belgian in the year 1960, they've witnessed some conflicts, problems, disasters that affected the economic revenue and the development of infrastructures. Furthermore, the mining sector is to forecast to recover by this year, 2022, which will turn slightly and boost the nation's income, productivity, and indirectly support economic revenue. So I call it like the economic intelligence unit. So with all those setbacks, all those disasters, all those problems that has affected the country in the years past, by this year you should be able to have accumulated and recovered all those lost. So whereas you have number 1, DRC Congo. Number 2, you have Mozambique. Mozambique's capital is Maputo. Its GDP per capita in the year 2025 would be $687. Although momentum has eased markedly, in recent years. And in the year 2020, when the corona outbreak began to, be pervasive, spread out, the income is reduced because Mozambique was one of the countries that was really affected by the coronavirus. People living in penury, in poverty, and deducing the income of the country and the GDP also. So growth is seen accelerating in Mozambique, with its GDP capital above the DRC by 2025. So I think Mozambique is kind of developing more than my first one, that is the Democratic Republic of Congo. Agriculture remains extremely important for the economy. Yes, as you know, those countries they deal in farming, agriculture, and other things. And the services sector is gaining in importance also with the vast growth, and in the telecom service too. They're also growing since the past few years. So Mozambique also is a resource haven, like they have been recognized about some years ago, bringing good resources out, with coal and natural gas reserves estimated at about 1.8 billion metric tons and 100 trillion cubic feet, that's TCF respectively. The country could very well become a major player in both industries on global scale, said an economist from Oxford University. So Mozambique is a really high-ranked country, not in the sense of living, but in the sense of building its economic capital. Maputo, its capital of the country, they are trying to, rejuvenate, protrude the economic status of what have been initiated. So this country, they are trying to, build back the status, build back that high end country that it would be by producing, minerals and oils and some other, resources or resource for the country to, use. Number 3, Uganda. The capital is Kampala. Its GDP per capita is $1,100. That is $1,100 per capita in the year 2025. So, following years of insecurity and political turmoil, that's confusion, following years of independence in the UK in the year 1962, Uganda has grown strongly in recent decades and burgeoning, that is flourishing industry and service sector. However, it remains an extremely impoverished country. Yeah, upon all those, what I just said, it still remains a poor country, a destitute country. So, after suffering severely since the last 2 years due to coronavirus, Uganda is forecast to be one of the sub-Saharan African's top performers over the next 5 years and should partially close the gap in GDP per capita terms with neighboring countries, meaning there should be increments in the future. Yeah, there should be increments in Uganda's GDP per capita in the nearest future to boost the economic status. Like I said, they get their independence from the UK. Nonetheless, Uganda is focused on developing the oil industry, which will bring a gargantuan growth in the economy. That is a big growth, a massive growth in the economy. One of the planning projects is crude oil export pipeline. They want a project, a crude oil export pipeline from Uganda's oil fields to Tonga port in Tanzania. That's very good. So my say is this. This will bring and alleviate the country's revenue out of poverty. Uganda's way and alleviation will need smart work and consistency to embed into mineral resource and establishment of new projects, companies, industries, and warehouses and some other facilities to facilitate the growth of the country. Number 4, I have with me Rwanda. Its capital is Kigali. Rwanda's economy has come a long way since the genocide of the early 90s, which ripped apart the country's economic, political, and social fabric. This made the GDP per capita rise from $250 in the year 2000 to over $800 in the year 2019. While the COVID-19 crisis has certainly truncated progress over the last 12 months, over a year, amid global business closures, the panelists see outputs per head continue to rise rapidly over the forecast horizon. Meaning Rwanda was, affected dastardly by the coronavirus, thus causing inflation and penury. Moreover, let us not forget the country's impressive development in recent decades and, heavily, established leadership of Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, and eventually and if you want to end the premiership, it could lead to some uncertainty, meaning put an end to Kagame's premiership could lead to a brouhaha in the country. Questions about President Kagame's succession remains important and germane, with Rwanda's Popular Front, which could, answer the long term. So, a magical transition to greater democracy remains a priority if the country, hopes to avoid any shock, said G. Evander, an economist at Oxford University. Our 5th country here is Zimbabwe. Its capital is Harare. The country was relatively a wealthy country located in the sub-Saharan African, and it contains a fertile land, developed infrastructure, and vast mineral wealth and resource. However, in the decades that followed, the country, and the economy, was it went through a terminal decline with the leadership of Robert Mugabe. Yes, Robert Mugabe, particularly since the controversial, you know, land reforms of the 2000s, with the unemployment surging and the economy gripped by both of hyperinflation. The economy will be held back by extremely high inflation, an uncertain political environment, and shortages of basic amenities. So that's what Uganda is facing, if not of the president of Mugabe, but that's Zimbabwe. But they are still improving. We do not expect an economic bounce back anytime soon, said an economist at Oxford University. Unfavorable business conditions are likely to persist anytime soon. Expectation is based on a 2.5% GDP next year. Furthermore, President Emerson administration has continued to target, government critics, increasingly through targeted prosecution and long period of pre-trial detention. Harare, that is its capital, will increase by 2.5% by next year, thereby alleviating the country out of dystopia. So, disclaimer, please, this is just my point of view. This is just my research and with some authors. So, if you want to publish yours or you want to, judge me, don't just look at my own, talk. I wrote down some things that I researched on. A lot of research have been done to publish this. So, this is just my take, my own review about the poorest countries here in the world: DRC CONGO, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Uganda, and Rwanda. So here you have it. I'd like to see if you want if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.